this call with valuable insights and actionable strategies to fortify our defenses against cyber threats. Now, I would like to introduce our speakers. First off, we have Yakubu Birma, who has a distinguished background in security operations. He brings to the table today a wealth of experience in managing and optimizing security measures to safeguard organizations against cyber threats. His expertise in threat detection, incident response, and security orchestration has contributed to enhancing the resilience of numerous enterprises in the face of security challenges. Welcome, Yakubu. Next up, we have Mainasera, who is renowned for his expertise in security engineering and malware analysis. Mainasera has played a pivotal role in developing and implementing robust security architectures and conducting in-depth analysis of complex malware specimens. His insights into malware behavior, reverse engineering capabilities, and proactive security measures have been instrumental in fortifying organizations against sophisticated cyber attacks. Welcome, Mainasera. And finally, we'll have Adeleke Jamiu, who has a vast knowledge in threat intelligence, malware detection, proactive monitoring, and incident response. In summary, he's a knowledgeable security operations analyst. Welcome, Adeleke. These speakers bring to us today a wealth of knowledge and hands-on experience in security operations, security engineering, and malware analysis, making them invaluable for our discussion today on cyber threat convergence and proactive defense strategies. Now, to our audience, we ask that as we navigate through this session, we encourage active participation and engagement from every one of you. We also there will be a form in this webinar that will take your questions and our speakers will attend to them. Together, we intend today strategies to mitigate the risk by cyber threat convergence and allow us to protect your organization's digital assets. Thank you very much. So first of all, I would like to call on Adeleke Jamiu to give us a brief overview of the InfoStealer malware.
So good afternoon. Thank you for that introduction. So I'll be talking about InfoStealers and what they do. So InfoStealers are malware, malicious software that's been designed to steal sensitive information from compromised system. So we have in Nigeria here we have a lot of InfoStealers, but specifically I'm talking about some of the top three. We have agents, we have malware like Agent Tesla, we have Anticrat, and we have Vader. So each have been tailored to target specific type of data, not just any other data. They are specified to see specific type of data. Something like your login credentials, your financial data, and your personal identification information. So when we talk about InfoStealers, how do they get to the system? Sometimes it can be from downloading malicious software. They won't look malicious, but they are malicious. They're probably just 2 to 3 lines of code is what makes them malicious. Sometimes if you, like everybody here in Nigeria, we know we used to use sender. Sometimes if you are trying to send something to another device on sender, and you are connected to the internet, when you try to send, you see some apps, some unwanted apps will be popping up that install. That is downloaded. All you do is install. When you install it on devices, now people don't know that those type of software are malicious. They look legitimate, but are malicious. You also have things like loan apps. Yeah, loan apps here in Nigeria with the high rate inflation rate, people go like rely on loans. So because with all these loan apps now, you see things like some different type of loan apps online, or even on if you go to Google Play, you see a lot of loan apps there. Those loan apps, some of them are malicious software. They're not doing anything. They're not giving nothing. When you sign up, they just come to your system, to your phone, to your devices, steal them, and send it back to the threat actors. So what these threat actors do is that they have where those malware are configured in a way that after they are collected, when they are done collecting the information, when they are done harvesting the information, they send them back to the remote servers of the threat actors, mostly by email, and they can be exploited for malicious purposes, such as unauthorized assets, financial fraud, and identification theft. So sometimes if you are on the streets of Lagos now, or even in Nigeria, you see some people saying that, some fraudsters saying that I'm going to buy log, I'm going to buy log. What are they buying? They're buying your credentials. Me and you are buying our credentials. They're buying our Java license. They're buying our informations online that they're buying. Those are the things they buy, and they use for fraudulent activities. But we don't know they're using this stuff, because when the info stealers malware are taking it from our devices, it was not shown. So we have things like, and this malicious malware software have been evolved. They continue evolving to bypass all these traditional antivirus, because now they use techniques like, let me say, this like application techniques. Now this makes it harder for you to understand the code. People like professionals like us, if we are going through the code, or even, let me say, even if antivirus is going through the code, you can't detect it, because it has been configured, that has been encrypted in a way that even the antivirus cannot open it. Now, I have a friend of mine that wake up one day and he opened his system and he saw and it says Spotify app. He didn't download it, he just met it there and he keeps using it. How? Those things can be malicious software, but antivirus will move it because of his Spotify. It doesn't look malicious. So, and you also have things like polymorphic code. This is the ability for it to look different from what it actually means. That's what I mean by Spotify. Now, when antivirus reads the code of Spotify, it's not even reading the code, it's just looking at those particular keys in Spotify to know that this is legitimate. But those hackers they embedded the code in a way that even antivirus cannot do it, cannot see it. So this makes it challenging for us as professionals to mitigate the threat posed by all these malicious trend. Thank you. So over in year 2023 alone, we saw 10 million personal and corporate devices were compromised by data stealing malware in just 2020 alone. That is not, this 10 million is not the number of data collected. It is the number of devices that malware infostilized on. 10 million. That is a lot of numbers, a lot of zeros. So that's why it's good to be proactive and have a better security measure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adeleke. 10 million devices, guys. Like, there's a possibility that my device is among. Next up, I'd like to call on Birma Yakubu to walk us through the statistics we have on our screen right now.
All right. I'm excited to walk us through this. So these info still, I haven't understood what they are, how they impact us both individuals and organizations, right? So we at Cyber Plural, we took our time to do a very, very in-depth analysis. Now, this analysis is for a period of 5 years plus the first quarter of this year, 2024. And we got some very, very interesting findings. So within this period of years, we have been able to collect and analyze over 200 samples of malware. To be specific, 213 pieces of malware. Now that's huge. All these malware, they are specifically info stealers. And all these info stealers, they are specifically impacting the Nigerian cyberspace. So you can imagine how bad that is. Now, over the years, we noticed our analysis revealed that 2021 has the highest impact. And then looking at the data available, we saw that, okay, the reason this happens, why 2021 happened, when lockdown came, everybody was jumping online. By 2021, people are trying to come back to work, and then works that have to do with hybrid nature of work, because everything has now changed from normal going to office to hybrid working environment. This gave a spike in these info stealers in our cyberspace. Now, we also noticed some very interesting things. Some of these are info stealer malwares. They only came like just once, like VEDA. VEDA only came in. It has so much impact that within the period of 5 years, it is among the top malwares, top info stealers that have impacted the Nigerian cyberspace. Imagine just 1 year, and it has so much impact. Now, some of these info stealers, such as Asyncrat, info stealers, were very persistent over the years, evolving. Just like our previous speaker, Adeleke, said, over time, they know what this your antivirus is doing. All these, they understand them perfectly. They know that this is what this tool is capable of doing. Let's make it in such a way these codes are interest you to know that in the year 2022, something very, very came down to Nigeria. As the whole FBI started to come to Nigeria to do what? Just to arrest 4 people. Now, these guys, what do? They operate Agent Tesla. That's the only damage these info stealer operators can do. Now, these guys did not only impacted the whole world, that because for the FBI to come down and other jurisdictions. So these info stealers have no jurisdiction, have no respect, and they are very, very much active in Nigeria, and they are impacting us in our daily jobs. Now, because during our security operations, we have seen these info stealers very, very much active. Some of them, they take your files, they zip it, and then they send it off. Others, they don't even zip it, they put it in a HTML format, and then they send it off. So they are very them using traditional security solutions is no longer possible, but it's very, very much impossible right now. Thank you.
So we now bad guys are also disrespectful. Okay, so I know this info stealer malware session was quite short, but at the end of the session, I'll be posting a link to a cyber plural blog about info stealer malware. So please go through the blog and enjoy yourself whilst reading it. Right now, I'll be calling our security engineering expert, a malware analysis expert, Maina Sarah, to walk us through the Agent Tesla info stealers and how they carry out their activities.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'll be taking us through this specific instance of an info stealer malware. So, as my colleagues mentioned earlier, these things are evolving, and these info stealers have changed and adapted over the years to do as much damage as possible. And this is a good example of that. As Adeleke mentioned earlier, these things hide themselves as normal applications. In a specific example, he went into phones and how you install APKs from just send files, download shady applications from the Play Store. But this one specifically was disguised as a weather applet, which makes me think back to Windows 7, where you had the option to add widgets to your home screen. So this probably disguised itself as one of those pieces of software. Now, when you get this type of software and you click on it to launch it, the code is very straightforward. It works like you expect it to do. It does the weather applet stuff, but there are 2 lines there that kick off the entire process. It creates an instance that fetches a script from the internet. Once the script is fetched, It then runs the script in memory, and then after running it, this script stages itself to launch payloads. Now, if you notice, I said in memory. That's because that's how it works to evade AV. It works to evade antivirus via running in memory and preventing any malicious software from touching your disk. The info sealer it's fetching from the internet is malicious. Your antivirus probably knows what it is. So it doesn't keep it on the disk, it runs it in memory. And it does this in two stages. It downloads the first stage, downloads the second stage. The second stage now prepares the environment to launch an EXE, not a script this time. So it gets the data and then launches the EXE. The EXE now fetches Agent Tesla. Once Agent Tesla is fetched, it now does the work. You have been compromised. What it does is it goes through a list of the most popular pieces of software that it knows about, and it scrapes all your information off those software. And it's not just Chrome and other popular pieces of software that it does this for. It does this for even obscure apps. In the analysis, we found Chinese apps too. So as my colleagues mentioned, it's not isolated to Nigeria. They have no respect for the jurisdiction. They go everywhere, even behind the Chinese firewall. So once it gets the details, it builds a HTML file, puts your details inside, and it emails it. During our analysis, we found the credentials of this box. We tried logging in to see if details are actually still being collected, but it was protected by two-factor authentication. So we couldn't go any further to check. This shows the picture. They are sneaky. You can't always rely on antivirus software. And what did they do? They get your credentials and they sell it to access brokers. And I guess that's where I'll end for now.
Thank you very much, Mina Shara. So can you guys see how intricate this web is and how the info stealer malware works? It's quite interesting. And I know I promised you guys an interesting webinar. So yeah, I'm delivering. Yeah. So right now, calling on Birma Yakubu to take us on the role of initial access brokers and how they carry out their activities as well as their impact.
All right, initial access brokers. So while Minasara was explaining Agent Tesla, he showed us how we were able to gain access to during our analysis, a certain attacker's inbox. Now, while we got that access, although we were unable to specifically log in because the attacker was using 2FA, so that blocked us from getting there. But we were very, very sure that I didn't mean we were able to get that access into that place. We were able to see a whole lot of people's email and people's credentials, people login, password, organization's secret, and the rest of them. Now, this is where initial access brokers come into play. So these initial access brokers, who are they? Well, they are just like, let's use the real estate agents as an example. So these people, they go out there, get a property that wants to be sold, and then they take it, sell it off, and then they get their payment. Now, initial access brokers, they do things like that, but in the sense that theirs is your network, your devices, your organizations. So they find a way to have initial access to your infrastructure. And when they have that access, then they take it off and they sell it. They sell it. How do they do that? What techniques and tactics do they use? Simply, they gain unauthorized access. And how do they gain that unauthorized access? They use phishing, they exploit vulnerabilities, and they breach perimeter defense. You can name it. These guys are very, very persistent. They are skillful, and they are ready to take as long as it can just to get that initial access and sell it off. Now, one of the most common method used by these gangs is the phishing, because phishing does not necessarily exploit vulnerability, right? It just take advantage of the target if you like, deploy whatever security method you have, update your system to the latest operating system, use the latest defense methodology, be an expert. As long as you can be a victim of phishing, you have opened the door to these attackers. They also exploit vulnerabilities. Now, during our security operations, we have noted some very sad things going on in the Nigerian space. A whole lot of these organizations are using outdated operating systems, outdated tools, outdated softwares in their systems. Now, we understand that there are times where you need to use legacy systems to do certain things. However, in such scenario, you are supposed to have a kind of specific way to defend, to protect that legacy system. So that is how it's supposed to be. But in these systems are not protected. Now, by the time this initial access broker gain this access by exploiting this whole, they go there, take over, and that is all. Your system is compromised. And the moment your system is compromised, they take, then they set it off in different forums. Now, there are different dark web forums. There are places where these guys are operating. Usually buy this initial access. Well, is the initial access brokers. So this is where we come into collaboration brokers and the ransomware operators. Now, last year alone, there is over 1.1 payouts just to ransomware operators. Now, this money does not include payments for incident response or lawsuits or any other thing. No, it's just the money that was paid to these ransomware operators. And that's huge, right? Losing $1.1 billion just because you are using a certain outdated phishing scam and the rest of them. Now, that is very, very huge. So that is exactly how, and then share these initial access to your system. Regulations that will come after you. Now, as an organization, take the data of your users or the data. NDPC is coming for you. You know, NDPC is here to stay, right? They will find you. They will definitely do that. And if they don't come for you, your customers can sue you. And there is a whole lot of damages that this can cause to you. Thank you very much. I will stop here.
Thank you very much, Bima Yakubu. Next up, I'll be calling on Maina Sarah to take us through a red line info stealer malware that was caught during an incident response activity. And $1.1 billion, guys, that's like a whole lot of money. And we know that that money is definitely going to increase in 2024. So yeah, just stay tuned to this webinar so you can learn some more.
Okay, so let me get back into this. So red line is a good example of all of this coming together, because it is a good example of the info stealer malware working together with these initial access brokers and ransomware syndicates. So this is an example of how during the incident response, we found files encrypted in the system. And it was part of, during our analysis of trying to figure out what happened, specifically the timeline of events or stuff like that, we found an instance of Redline. Redline is the info stealer. The ransomware was IFLA. So this is a perfect example of the two working together. The scenario here is red line. This is most likely the scenario of red line coming in as an info stealer, steal your credentials, so the credentials to initial access broker, or worked with a ransomware. All of this. So your credentials are now out. Someone uses credentials, now ransom you. And with the ransom now completely in effect, you are unable to use any of your devices, and you are now at the mercy of these people. An example is a specific company that lost up to 15 of its servers and had to rebuild over 2 weeks because they were ransomed for $30,000, and $30,000 is a lot of money. And for the targets of these ransomware syndicates and information stealers, which are small and medium-sized businesses, it is very, very bad. You don't have $30,000 to spend on ransom, because even if you pay the ransom, are you sure they're not going to sell the data they collected on you? Are they going to return your files? It's a huge question mark on top of this. So the whole process of the info stealer getting onto your system, files are now the credentials being used to infect you with ransomware, and then your files are all gone. It's a good example of what everything is coming to, the cyber threat convergence title drop. So yes, that's what this talk is about, the relationship between all of these entities in cybercrime. An endpoint gets compromised, and it doesn't even have to be a computer specifically. It could be a human being, as my colleague Birma mentioned earlier. You now get compromised, info stealer gets onto your computer, and then these info stealers exfiltrate your data. They sell it in either one of two places. They sell it either directly to the initial access broker, or they go to deep web marketplaces and they sell the information there. Now, when they sell the information, the people that buy are usually ransomware syndicates, because they need your credentials to access your system and then infect you with the ransomware. These ransomware syndicates don't stop there. They also sometimes, most of the times, let me say, organize with other ransomware syndicates, share data and credentials just to cause more havoc and make things a lot worse, because they feel like they are part of a group and they need to share these credentials to help each other out. You get what I mean, right? So that's what they do mostly, and they do it via either direct contact or forums that are secure, untracked, Signal, Telegram, the likes. And at the end of this is all you, your organization, your business. These info stealers, ransomware, might not even be operated by people that are technically skilled. As we saw earlier with Agent Tesla, the person was probably not technically skilled. If not, their credentials wouldn't be left inside the sample. They would have done better to hide their tracks. But they left the credentials, including their initials, which look very likely. And it indicates to how most of these things are being bought on the deep web, and they are bought for little amounts of money. And in the end, you lose it. You lose your operations, you lose time, you lose money. It all speaks to the awful things that happen to you, the awful impact itself. And I'll hand over to my colleague to continue with the discussion on impacts.
Thank you very much, Maina Sarah. So one interesting thing to note about all we've been hearing about is the collaborative nature of the bad guys. Like these guys communicate better than we, the good guys. So I think that's one area that we as cyber experts, we need to improve on. So next up, I'll be calling on Adeleke Jamiu to take us on this ride on the impacts on cybersecurity of enterprises, startups, and NGOs, the financial losses, reputational damage, and so much more.
So thank you for that. So I'll be talking about impacts, which is how it's affects us as an organization, our community here in Nigeria, and even outside the world. So I'll be giving you an example for that. So in February of this year, 2024, a Change Ransom Healthcare was hacked and was hit by a ransomware attack. That was in February. And till now, which is why May now, which is almost 4 years after, there are still unable to bring back other system, which leads to reputational damage, operational damage. We also have things like financial losses. This same healthcare, they paid $22 million in Bitcoin to these attackers, these ransomware syndicates, which is Black Cat, yeah, Alpha. After paying this 22 million, which is lead to more financial losses, and now that they after paying the 22 million, that some of the servers are still not back up. They have to pay and have to spend a lot more on bringing back the servers. And we also have things like reputational damage, which lead to more. So me as a patient at that hospital, you don't expect me to go back there for any checkup or anything, because I know now my data, the healthcare is not secure, and you don't expect me to go back there. And even after these people paid these $22 million, this same attacker post the credentials, the information they were able to collect in the ransomware attack. They were able to collect this information and sell it again. Now, if you go to the dark web, the victim, the patient of those healthcare, those change healthcare, they have some of other patients, other details they can that there on the dark web, which leads to our initial point that these people are working together. And yesterday was given to us, no information came out that these people, the attackers were able to get access to the change healthcare using stolen credentials. That means we have things like info stealers. They steal the credentials, they took to the dark web, they sold it to the ransomware syndicate. Now ransomware syndicate go back there, if credentials that they took before the ransomware, they took those credentials back to the dark web to sell again, which brings us back to the circle of convergence. And this, which is one of the reasons it's good to have two multi-factor authentication, which was the reason why they were able to break into the system. So when we talk about things like regulation, not compliance, which is bring us to the legal actions that are taken by the government or government agency against this healthcare. Here in Nigeria, we have NDPC that's actually active. So if anything like ransomware or any attack or if a organization doesn't have a robust security measures, these people will come to you guys and find you, which also lead to financial losses. And we also have things like long-term resilience, which is something that we need here in Nigeria, because as a organization, these actors that are working together, and as a organization, we need security. We need robust security measures to be able to tackle these people. We need some proactive monitoring team. We need incident report, and we need to be prepared for this ransomware or any of this attack. So now the question has gone from what if the attack us is when the attack us, what do we do? What are the implementation you have in place? What are the security measures you have in place to tackle these people back? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adeleke. $22 million from just one organization. These guys are cashing out. That's all I can say. Right now, I would like to call on Mena Sarah to take us through the Malware operations in the final quarter of 2023 in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you. So this Malware is also a piece of ransomware, and the whole incident is what brings back to what I talked about earlier, that this is what these ransomware targets. This is what they do. They get it to your system, they mess this up, and the only thing you have left is a link to go and pay them. What you have left is a link to go and pay, just to pay the ransomware, nothing else. And in the end, the amount of money that you lose if you pay the ransom is horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And if you make the mistake of robbing them the wrong way, they could also damage a lot of your systems, because there's an example of an individual that worked as a contractor, and this contractor was working on tech services, a developer, and they got infected by a a piece of ransomware, and they thought, oh, I'm technical, the ransom, I'll just wipe my system, reinstall the operating system, and then get on with the rest of my life. It's no big deal. But because of the way these things operate, the info stealer had already run on the system. These people already have his credentials. The ransomware drop was just the first attempt they had to make money. The second is to sell the data. And the third, if they feel like it, is to completely mess up everything you're working on. So this is how they operated. They got, after the developer refused to pay the ransom, they logged into all their online accounts, current contracts, whatever services they are running, software as a service, cloud platforms, logged into everything, wiped data, locked him out of the account, and not only did he lose the data he had on the system, this developer also lost what they would call their business. Even as an individual, they lost access to it. So this is an example of how these people operate from the very beginning, and they do not have any mercy, and they will continue to operate. Malware is just an example from last year, and they're still going on. This is where we need to talk about figuring out how to safeguard ourselves as individuals and as companies. So I'll hand over to my colleague again to speak about mitigating these threats.
So we've been going on and on about info stealers, initial access brokers, and the threats they pose to us as organizations and individuals. So I think it's about time that we go into mitigation strategies on how to defend our organizations from these crazy guys. Right now, I'll be calling on Birma Yakubu to take us on some mitigation strategies that are recommended for organizations to take. Thank you.
All right. Yes. Mitigation strategies. This is where the work comes in. This is where all the juicy information you have gotten. This is where you say, okay, what can I use this information to do? Right? To protect yourself as an organization from these info stealers, from ransomware attacks, from initial access brokers, but you could start with gaining visibility. Gaining visibility in the sense that you are doing a proactive monitoring, and you are detecting these threats even before they achieve their objective. Right? You have a team somewhere monitoring your network, your devices 24/7, round the clock. Every day, they are there looking at who is coming to your network. Now, if you have been listening to us, we have mentioned a whole lot of examples, a whole lot of things that we have been seeing during our proactive monitoring. How we detected a whole lot of info stealers trying to exfiltrate data, and how we responded to ransomware incidents. All that is possible because there is a visibility. Without proactive detection, there is almost nothing you can do. Now, you also need an incident response plan. So you need to be prepared for this incident. Now, cybersecurity have moved beyond if I am hacked to when I am hacked. So it's no longer if, it is when. So we are just expecting when they come, but these guys are going to come, definitely. Whether you like it or not, they will attack you. You are a target. So what happens? What do? You prepare a plan to respond to this incident so that your business can come back online as fast as possible. And how do you do that? You develop and rehearse. Now, not just developing, right? By the time you develop this incident response plan, you have to rehearse to make sure that it is not just a document, but it is implementable. Because if you have an incident response plan that cannot be implemented, then there is a problem. Then it's just useless to your organization, right? So you don't want to spend your money and time developing plans that are not implemented. So you need all the protocols, you need how to contain, you need how to eradicate, you need how to recover. All these things need to be put in place in your incident response plan. Then you need a data protection measure. How do you protect your data, right? You need a way to implement encryption. If there is no encryption, then anybody who gets into your network sees everything in plain text, and that is bad, right? So you also need a ransomware specific defense strategy. Ransomware specific defense strategy in the sense that this ransomware has been growing. We have seen and have heard how impactful it has been over the years. So developing a strategy such as deploying application whitelisting, right? You segment your network so that if this segment has been impacted, it's not going there. Deception technologies, implementing that in your organization is also very, very key. So this is not something to joke with, right? This is something to take serious. And also collaboration between organizations. Now, I'll give you a real life example before I round up quickly. In the year 2022 and 2023, we have noticed a whole lot of ransomware attack in Nigeria. In fact, there was a time when a certain ransomware gang, that's the Alpha ransomware group, attacked two organizations successfully in Nigeria. Now, they didn't do that simultaneously, you know. They exploited the same method, the same way they attacked organization. I'll call them organization A, the same way they attacked them. That was the same way they attacked the other one. Now, I think there is a sort of collaboration, right? A sort of information sharing within this organization to not happen. And also, there was an organization last year that was hit with two different ransomware, right? It was hit with this ransomware. A few months later, it was hit with another ransomware. So these things we are seeing them in our security operations every day. Ransomware up and down, info stealers, initial access brokers, doing a whole lot of things. So this is why we are calling for what a collaboration. Well, there are platforms such as the NGSAT, the White Hat NG. These are all a platform that are pushing for responsible, disclosure and information sharing within among Nigerian organizations. Now, by the time we have that, I can assure you that if a certain organization should fall victim, another one will not, because by the time they share this information, they will be able to protect themselves from the attack that is to come. That this is implementing proactive measures. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Birma Yakubu. Thank you very much, Sarah and Adeleke. What an insightful session. Now, you see about the collaboration I was talking about. The bad guys are collaborating, so why won't us, the supposed good guys, collaborate as well? Now, it would interest you to know that Plural as an organization offers all of these mitigation strategies spoken about by Birma Yakubu. We have an MSSP, the Plural MSSP, that provides proactive threats detection using a knowledgeable team and sophisticated tools. We also offer incident response preparedness by offering you an effective incident response plan. We also offer data protection measures that are compliant with the NDPC. And we also provide ransomware specific defense strategies. We also have a service called the Cyberdemia that offers a vast cybersecurity course outline that includes technical drills for organizations to boost their cybersecurity structure and security posture. And finally, we have our blogs, where you are constantly informed about the recent happenings in the cyberspace. So what better way to protect your organization than partnering with us at Plural and utilizing our knowledgeable team, as you can see through this webinar and session, and just take from us. We're willing to give, literally. So thank you guys for joining this session. Next up, we'll have a Q&A session. This is the time where I need you all to dump your questions on us. The chat box is open. Dump your questions. I'll pick the questions one after the other, and then I will allocate them to our speakers to elaborate more on them. Thank you very much. This is the time also for our speakers to drink water and wet your throats, because questions are coming in. Oh, Mr. George, you have 2 questions from Mr. Adeleke. That's beautiful. It's beautiful. Drop them, drop them. I'm sure he's ready to take them. So, Adeleke, we have 2 questions for you. So please unmute your mic and get ready to respond to the questions. So the first question is, in your experience, what are the most common types of sensitive data that info-stealer malware targets? That's your first question, Adeleke. You have the floor.
So, okay. When we talk about type of data, we have things like, sometimes they target things like login credentials, they target things like your financial data, and sometimes they target your personal identification information, your PII. So where did they get some of these login credentials forms? Sometimes if you go to your browser now, your, let me say, Opera Mini or Opera browser, and you press in your credentials, your login details. Sometimes you see things like some message will pop up like save this password, save here, and you save it. Those passwords are not saving online, they're saving on your devices. Sometimes if you notice some of your laptop, your phones, sometimes it gets filled up. Sometimes it's not just magic. Sometimes it's with password information, cookies, and all. So this Opera browser, there's some malicious file, some like SQ leads. So those things that they go into those Opera mini browser, where those browsers, where those information are stored, that go there and pick those information and send it to the bad guys. I also have things like Mozilla Firefox cookies stealers. So these ones go to your Firefox cookies folder, your paths where you save those information. They go there to pick things like your cookies. We also have malicious stealers like force mail. So this has to do with applications. So this type of malicious malware, they go to your program installation part by checking applications registry key and for force mail part, or and check for common installation folder for the account registration and signatures. So they go there and take your data from there. And now, when you're talking about what they use data for, they use them for unauthorized access. So when when they create those logs, sometimes they sell it to the bad guys, to the ransomware syndicates, and those are they come back into that system and eat you with the ransomware. Now you can't do anything; you have to pay them some large amount of money, and sometimes identification theft and financial fraud. So when they have things like your BVN, your NIN, now they can go to all these loan app and put in your information. They have your name, right? They put in your information. They put your BVN. They put your Java license or your NIN. Now they take loan out of nowhere. You just get calls from loan app asking you for your repayment, which is very bad. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Adeleke. Okay. We have a question for Birma. Birma Yakubu, you have the floor. The question is, could you share examples of real-world incidents where the reputational damage resulting from ransomware attacks has impacted stakeholder trust and confidence in affected organizations? How have these organizations worked to rebuild their reputations following such incidents? And what else could they have done better?
Okay, reputational damage, real world example of these attacks. So there are so much this real world example. I will be stating a few. Now, I will not call the name of these organizations because of their confidentiality, right? But in Nigeria here, we have an instance of a certain betting organization that was breached by malware. by this ransomware. And after this breach, it took them hours. Now, betting company, as we know them, they work around the clock, right? As the matches are going. Now, people couldn't place their bet. People couldn't do all these things. Some of them move away from there, and then they are now on other betting platforms, and they are there. Now, these guys have lost these customers. Their stakeholders are asking questions, and the company has, although the company was able to recover from that particular attack and then fix its vulnerabilities, but that impact is already there. It's already affected their customers and their stakeholders. Now, also, earlier, we gave another example of a developer whom had his servers deleted because he refused to pay ransom. He said, I will just wipe away my system and I will not pay this ransom. And what happens? All the servers that were online, they were deleted. Now, having deleted these servers, definitely if you are a developer and then your servers were deleted, the organization will come and ask you question, yes, and you will know what to the kind of answer you want to give them, because it is not a joke for your client's server to be deleted from the cloud. Very, very big one. And also, there is just so much. Now, still last year, that's in 2023, right? Another organization was attacked by ransomware twice. I've stated this earlier. Twice is one single organization hit by ransomware twice. Now, this rose question within their ranks that what is happening here? Why are you not fixing these vulnerabilities? And this kind of scenario will lead your stakeholders, your investors to pull out, because you have shown that I cannot protect these guys' investment here. And what do they do then? They pull out. Okay, I am tempted to say this one also. A certain telecommunication company, one of the biggest in Nigeria, actually. You can guess whichever one you want to guess, but one of the biggest telecommunication company in Nigeria, they were hit with ransomware also, and that had a whole lot of impact on them. During that period, a whole lot of customers were complaining of. They took them to Twitter saying why there was no service. Although these guys did not specifically reveal that, okay, we are hit by ransomware, but in the community, during our security operations, we know that these are the things that happens, and these guys did not only lose a whole lot of money, but they also lost a whole lot of customers, and the confidence of their stakeholders, the confidence of their investors has been questioned over there. So these are the kind of real world scenario. There are a lot of them, but I would refer us to the Cyber Plural 2022 to 2023 reports and our blog post, which I believe our host will we drop this link for us. Thank you very much.
That is a lot of real world incidents, guys. Like, everybody's literally at risk. So we have time for just one more question. So who is going to be the lucky person? I'll just wait for 1 minute, and if there's no question, I have my own personal question, but I want to leave the floor for the audience. Who has a question? Okay. I think that's all from the audience. So I have one question, and this question is from Maina Sarah. From a security engineering perspective, as the security engineering experts that you are, what ransomware specific defense strategies can organizations deploy to thwart the lateral movement and of ransomware within their networks, particularly in response to the activities of initial access brokers and ransomware gangs? Sarah, you have the floor.
I lost you. Hello, can you please repeat that? I didn't get it.
Okay, so I'm going to repeat it. I said from a security engineering perspective, as an expert that you are, what ransomware specific defense strategies can organizations deploy to thwart the lateral movement and deployment of ransomware within their networks, particularly in response to the activities of initial access brokers and ransomware gangs? Did you get that?
Yeah, I got that. So this one is in my opinion, I feel like it's kind of straightforward. So if you have a situation where you want to prevent lateral movement, and let's say you like as my colleagues mentioned, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. When you get hacked, you do not want to run into a situation where your entire system goes down because of all this lateral movement and stuff. What you could do is make DMZs, basically demilitarized zones. So you could separate your network into segments. The part that needs to communicate to the outside world should stay as the part that needs to communicate to the outside world. Anything else that is going to go within your company should be behind a wall. It doesn't even need to be a firewall, to be honest. It should be some sort of an implementation. It could be a policy as well. It just has to be some sort of a wall, and you need to keep those things out. So let me give an example. Let's say you are a company that deals with a lot of customers, right? And you have a call center. And this call center obviously needs to be open, and you need to accept calls, phone calls. You need to accept. That case, that place should be left open, but then the entire network should be segmented from the rest of your operator. Now, the call center does not need to have access to your admin network. You get what I'm saying, right? So you don't need those things. You need a separation of concern, and you need to make sure the lines are drawn not just arbitrarily, but they need to be drawn clearly. And in this situation of a call center, the call center should stay open to the internet, but before any request can go through to before it can go through to any other network, it should go through some sort of authorized computer that can accept these connections. And then on the other end, for admin systems, you need to find a way of keeping admin systems closed and not open to anything at all. So I guess that's it. If you want to prevent things like that, that's the best way to do it.
So 1 minute to go. Thank you guys for joining this session. I just want to reiterate the need for everybody to be proactive. And I would also like everybody to follow us on social media at Cyber Plural. That's on Twitter, we're on LinkedIn, and we're on Facebook. And you can also send us an email at hello@cyberplural.com. Thank you guys for joining this insightful webinar organized by Cyber Plural. And we hope to see you all next time when we are hosting something as beautiful as this. Thank you very much.